So this right here is HP's iPad killer from 2011. Except it wasn't really much of an iPad killer, was it? Because this thing was discontinued just weeks after it was released, 49 days to be exact. And it ended up being a huge embarrassment for HP, especially considering that this was their very first and only tablet that ran webOS, which they had acquired when they purchased Palm just 1 year prior. So today we're going to crack this thing open, see what the touchpad can do, and also discuss why exactly HP pulled the plug on it so quickly. Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. So I gotta give a huge thank you to David for making this video possible, because he sent me this HP touchpad a while back, brand new in the box as you can see, along with a couple of accessories that went with it that we're going to be checking out a little bit later on. But before we get to all that, I want to talk about the circumstances that led to this thing's almost record-setting discontinuation. The short answer is the iPad 2, but it's actually a little bit more involving than that because the iPad 2 didn't even exist when this thing was announced. We first got a glimpse of the touchpad back on February 9th, 2011 at HP's Think Beyond event in San Francisco, where the company also announced the Veer and the Pre 3, both webOS smartphones. Now, at the time, they didn't reveal any pricing for the touchpad, but the base 16GB model, which is the one we have here, ended up selling for $500. You know what else cost $500? The iPad 2, which was announced at an Apple event on March 2nd and began selling just over a week later on the 11th. In contrast, HP's tablet here didn't hit American store shelves until July 1st, almost 5 months later. So although they got a head start with announcing the thing, Apple had all of March, April, May, and June to garner a user base for the iPad 2, which wasn't particularly difficult as they sold around 1 million units just over the first weekend it was available. Which, I mean, yes, this is Apple, it's not terribly surprising, but it was also the second generation iPad, so the product line was more established and there were far more apps available for it. So even though the touchpad could do some pretty cool stuff that the iPad couldn't, like playing Flash content, doing real multitasking with the webOS card interface, and this really cool touch to share functionality where you could take a Pre 3 phone and tap it to the touchpad to send something you're looking at on the tablet, like a web page for example, to the phone, a lot of people just saw that the iPad was the same price and bought that instead. Now that's not to say people didn't buy the touchpad because, oh, believe me, they certainly did, but only after HP significantly dropped the price of this thing, because in a shocking announcement on August 18th, just 49 days after it hit store shelves, HP said they were going to discontinue not just the touchpad, but all webOS hardware. Now, by this point, HP had already dropped the price of the touchpad by $100 down to $399 to try and make it more competitive with the iPad, but now that they had thrown in the towel, they just wanted to clear these things out of their warehouses. So they lowered the price of the base model once again to just $99, which would set in motion the events of the great HP touchpad fire sale of 2011. All of a sudden, everybody wanted one of these things, and retailers that had trouble selling through their inventory found themselves putting up out-of-stock signs at the front of the store. Of course, you had scalpers trying to sell these things for 3 times the price on eBay because they're like the devil, but it was sold out everywhere in no time, especially after some developers were able to get Android running on it, thus creating what was probably the cheapest Android tablet you could get at the time. Well, at least something made by a mainstream hardware manufacturer anyways, and we'll talk a little bit more about that towards the end of the video after we check this thing out, but you know, this whole thing reminds me of something like really similar, another product that sold for $99 that people hacked to get other operating systems working on it. Well anyways, I guess HP ended up getting what they wanted after all, because by the end of the year, the HP touchpad was the second best-selling tablet in the United States. In fact, because of how well it was selling, HP did another production run of the touchpad to keep up with the newly increased demand. By the way, if you were wondering, the people who paid full price for this thing didn't get screwed because they were able to get a refund for the price difference, so that's pretty nice. But yeah, that's a little backstory. That's how most people ended up buying these things. And now we're going to go ahead and unbox this unit for the very first time since it was manufactured. So it's got this wrap over it. We're just going to peel that off. So inside we've got an HP touchpad, cleaning cloth, the AC charger, a micro USB sync cable, a getting started guide, and a navigation guide. It also has Beats audio, so you know it must be good, right? Looks like we've got a couple pieces of tape to cut here. And there it is, the seal has been broken. So we're gonna slide this thing out, set the box back here. I imagine this thing is certainly not going to actually have a charge. I mean, we could try powering it on, but I'm sure it's gonna be completely dead. It's been sitting in here for over a decade. Yeah, so we're gonna definitely have to plug this in. But we have, you know, I hate to always compare everything to Apple, but we do have some kind of Apple-esque packaging. Now comes the fun part. All right, HP, let's see what's so fun about all this stuff. Okay, so we have a getting started guide. We have the navigation guide. We have an HP is here to help thing, limited warranty. And there is the nice polishing cloth that says HP on it. That's super nice, isn't it? Even Apple didn't include polishing cloth. They charge you money for one now. So HP definitely throwing in some nice extras there. Yeah, I'm just going to plug this thing in and let it charge for a little bit. And while that's off camera charging, I figured we'd take a look at these two accessories that HP sold alongside the touchpad. This right here is an induction charging dock that sold for around $80, and this is a wireless keyboard that sold for around $70. So we're going to go ahead and open up the charger here first. We kind of got that same design. We got these two pieces of tape. So the dock actually has this adjustable foot on the back here, so you can change, you know, how much it's propped up, you know, what angle it's at. So you could have it like kind of goes all the way like this, like just completely flat on the table pretty much, which you probably wouldn't really want to do. But, you know, you could have it kind of leaned back more if you desire. So that's pretty nice. And then we've got the keyboard. This one actually looks like it's had the tape removed already. So go ahead and pop that out. So yeah, this looks to have been used before. Not a really big deal, although it does look like there were some batteries left in here, because that definitely looks like some battery corrosion going on. The keyboard layout, you know, it's your standard QWERTY keyboard, though it does have, you know, some buttons specific to webOS. So like this right here is to open up the cards multitasking interface. You've got, you know, controls up here like for brightness and volume controls, playback controls there, power button up there. So yeah, let me go ahead and see if we can get the batteries out. Oh yeah, those are those are definitely corroded. And well, it took a little bit of time, but I was able to get that corrosion cleaned up, although you can see that unfortunately it did eat into the metal a little bit here on the back. So that sucks, but I put new batteries in it. I don't know if the thing works yet. We're going to verify that when I can connect it to the touchpad. But before I do that, I have to tell you about the rather unfortunate circumstances that we find this tablet in. Because I've been experiencing a problem trying to get this thing to charge. No matter what I have tried, it just will not charge. The only thing it does when I plug it in is it flashes a white light on this button down here from left to right over and over again. Which, according to a post on the XDA forums, when this happens indefinitely, it means that the battery is charging, but it is not able to get enough charge to actually boot up. So it's charging, but it's not actually retaining a charge. And I tried literally every suggestion that I could find to get this working again. I tried to leave the tablet plugged in for a couple days. I tried to unplug and plug back in the charging cable at specific intervals. I tried to use the touchstone dock instead of the charging cable. I tried to use a more powerful charging brick. I tried to use a less powerful charging brick. I tried plugging it into my computer. Nothing worked. It would not get past that blinking white light. Now, by this point, I had started to look up replacement batteries for this thing, and I was surprised to find that there were some still for sale, but I just assumed that because of how old and, let's be honest, useless this device is today, that although they were sold as new, they were probably new old stock batteries and were the same age as the one in here, so they would just have this exact same problem from sitting around for so long. That is, until I saw a video from Action Retro on the touchpad that he published as I was working on this one. And I know what you're gonna say. What is this, like the fourth time you guys have made a video on the same topic in the span of a few days, and you really expect us to believe that it's just a coincidence? Well, it's really just a coincidence. There's only so much vintage tech to go around, so this stuff does happen. I mean, it's wild, I know, when it does, but it really is just a coincidence. But anyways, I'd recommend checking out his video because he did a battery replacement and ended up purchasing the exact same battery I was looking at on eBay. and it worked. So I guess those batteries are actually brand new, which is wild to me that there's still somebody out there manufacturing them. However, like I said, I was under the impression that it wasn't going to work, so I just bought a whole nother touchpad. You can see this one came in this HP case here, which is kind of cool. And this one does actually frickin' work. So here it is running webOS. And so yeah, we're going to be using this to demo the operating system for the rest of this video. And hey, maybe we'll come back and do a battery replacement in this thing at some point, because I would like to breathe new life into it. Alright, so here we are in webOS, and this is actually my very first time using this operating system. I mean, aside from the minor amount of testing I did off camera, which was mainly just to install these applications that we'll get to in a moment. One of the really cool things about webOS is there are a whole bunch of applications archived via the webOS app museum. I'll have that link down below. If you have one of these devices, definitely go check it out, because there's a whole bunch of stuff you can install on these things. But I have connected this thing to the internet for the first time since I've owned it anyways, and we're going to go into the web browser here to start things off. And I mean, I imagine like, okay, we're going to get some security problems, although I wonder if the tablet is out of date. Let's see what oh, that is the current date. Okay, so it's got that correct, but it is complaining about the security certificate. We'll say trust always, because we always trust Google around here. I mean, come on. So yeah, we got the web browser running. Maybe we want to go back to the home screen here, and when you do that, your current application kind of shrinks into this window here, and then you can open up something else, so maybe photos. And then maybe I want to go back to the home screen, open up the messages application, and get out of that. And this right here is that webOS cards interface that we talked about, which makes multitasking incredibly easy, and was a feature that at this point anyways, the iPad did not have. There was no easy way to switch between applications like this, and that was one of the things that set the touchpad here apart from the iPad. So yeah, we've got a mail client on here. We've got a calendar program. Sometimes the apps do take a little while to start up here. And while they're starting up, they kind of show in the like app switcher there, and then it brings it full screen here when it's loaded. And we can open up the calendar here. And you know, yeah, I mean, you've got your basic like productivity type stuff. There's also an office suite on here as well called Quick Office. Now, I don't know if this was pre-installed or if it was something that someone put on here at one point. And it looks like it had integration with Box.net, Dropbox, even MobileMe. You could also find more by tapping there. We'll just hit go up here. And it looks like we've got a PDF right here, so we can just tap that and it will take us out of Quick Office, bring up Adobe Reader in that nice smooth animation. And here's that PDF that we can scroll through. And it looks like we've got a shortcut up here to go back to documents, so we can tap that and go back into the app launcher here. And you see this is like an application group, but I think we can, yeah, we can just separate that if we want to. But yeah, you can group applications together. So maybe if you want your messages and mail kind of in the same group, we can just drag that on top of the other one there, and it makes a little group for us. Yeah, I mean, this is the main way of navigating through applications, and it works really, really well. There's also a search box up here. You can type and start searching for stuff. This recent search, there is a reason for that. This is actually how you enable developer mode, which we needed to do to actually get applications copied over here from my computer. You just type out the Konami code, up, up, down, down, left, right, BA start. And when you do that, it will give you the option for developer mode here, and you can turn that on. That's a really cool Easter egg. So yeah, and we can just close applications. Oh yeah, you can swipe up on the cards to close them, if I haven't mentioned that yet. That's how you close things. So there we go. Now we're just back to nothing running. And then of course you have your all apps view that you can also get to if you're in an application by just tapping on the home button twice. I keep calling this the home button. Don't think that's what it was called, but that's what I'm calling it. So yeah, your apps in here are separated into categories. You've got apps, downloads, favorites, and settings. So downloads is all the stuff that I have downloaded or well copied over to this tablet from my PC. Aside from the HP app catalog, that's just in here. I'm actually curious if we go into this. I know this was shut down, but I just wonder what it does. See if maybe it can still view something. Well, we're getting a UI asking us to choose our shopping country, but, well, we might not get to it because it's still loading here. Well, it's been about a minute here, and I really don't think we're getting anywhere. Not really surprising. We'll just leave this running in the background and see if maybe it decides to load something, but I highly doubt it's going to do anything because, I mean, this whole app store was shut down years ago. Can you add stuff to the dock? Can you move stuff out of here maybe? Okay, yeah, we can do that, so we can then move down like calculator. Yeah, okay, so that's just the maximum amount. You can have 5 things pinned down here. You probably can't move this button to open up your app drawer, so to speak. So this is basically your standard set of webOS applications, and we can, as we were just doing, we can move them around, to order them differently if we want to. Although it looks like QuickOffice and Adobe Reader, these might have been downloaded considering they have that X mark above, and all these other ones don't. So these might have been downloaded from the app catalog. Now, Preware is a package manager that I believe you can use just to download apps from the webOS archive on the tablet and then just install them from here. But you have to use a program on your computer to copy it over to here. And when I did that, I just also downloaded some stuff from the webOS archive on my computer and copied them over as well. So we've got these 3 apps here. And we're going to start with MeTube. So this apparently is like it's a YouTube and a Reddit. Yeah, a Reddit video client for webOS. Now, with the Reddit API changes, I'm sure that's not going to work, but I'm curious if... oh, look at this. We have some shared by webOS users. And these are like recent dates. So I guess this YouTube client is still working. Let's just tap on this here. Yeah, that's a YouTube link. And it's letting us know about HD video compatibility because we've selected an HD video on a non-HD device. Well, practically every video we select is going to be HD. But let's just hit enter here and timeout exceeded. Okay, so that's not good. Let's maybe try to do a search and see if it can pull up search results. So we'll search for MJD here. Okay, so it's able to search for videos. There's my latest upload as of me filming. But it's probably not going to be able to play this one either. So yeah, when you tap a video, it brings the URL into search, and then you hit play, and I assume it's supposed to come up with a player, but it doesn't do that. And yeah, there's that timeout again. So yeah, let's see if there's any preferences we can change up here. Looks like there are. Okay, so we got some theme settings, convert time. Is it converting these videos? Oh, play strategy, stream or download. Okay. What if we change it to download? HD quality, HQ, max results 25. And then you also have where you can enter a custom Google API key. And there's also self-hosting stuff down here, which I wonder if maybe you could get this working again if you had one of those API keys. But let's change it to download and see if we can tap this and hit play. There we go. So not terribly surprising. So yeah, that is MeTube. And then we've also got Uno. And yep, we've got an SNES emulator on here, which we're going to save for last. But yeah, I just grabbed Uno because I saw this in the archive. And I mean, who doesn't love Uno? Except for all the people that are going to comment now and say they hate Uno. All right. This soundtrack is like, I'm wondering if I've played this game before. Because, I mean, well, I've definitely played Uno, but this particular version, because this is just, it sounds like very familiar. Alright, so we're gonna drop down an 8 there. Alright. Screw you, Tommy, you got skipped. Alright, Jane. Oh, thanks, Jane, for skipping me. Alright, Tommy's got a draw 2. 0, alright. That's not what I want to do. Do a 6. Well, I'm probably not winning this one. Well, we can change the color here. Maybe that'll screw him over. Oh, no, it didn't. Wow. Alright, well, Tommy wins the match. Thanks, game. So yeah, that's Uno. And then, why don't we check back on our App Store here. Yeah, that's getting nowhere. But we can go into, if I can get out of that. Kind of lagged behind there for a second. Let's go into our SNES emulator and check this out. So yeah, this is SNES 9X, of course, and I do have a single ROM on here. So if we load game, it's in downloads, Super Mario Kart. I did actually run this before, so yeah, I mean, I already know it works on here, but we're just going to say no and have it restart. And yeah, I didn't actually go into a match, so I mean, I just got to the menu here. We'll see how well this emulator works here. We'll do 100cc. This is gonna be this is gonna be rather funny. But yeah, we'll select Mario there because I mean, I guess that's fine. Mushroom Cup race. All right, so let's see let's see what we can do here. It's A to go in Super Mario Kart, right? No, it's B. Damn. All right. Well, off to a wonderful start. So, yeah, I think Super Mario Kart is the least played, or is my least played Mario Kart game. I've played the tracks plenty of times on, like, Mario Kart Wii, and, you know, of course, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, the ones that are on there anyways. But, you know, those are the updated tracks, so, I mean, we're not getting the full experience there of just flatness that you get here in Super Mario Kart. Oh, here's the final lap. Okay. And yeah, I know I'm not drifting at all, because it's kind of difficult to do that just with this control layout. Oh. Well, I guess I'm not getting first. Can I hold 6th? Yes, I can. Look at that. That's just amazing. So, yeah, I mean, it runs totally fine, so that's neat. This thing can emulate SNES games if you were wondering that. But yeah, so that is a little bit of running apps on webOS. I do want to go into the settings here, and I want to see what wallpapers we got. So I think under photos and videos, or is it probably under... Where's like, oh, it's under settings. Yeah, there's a whole settings category over here. So we can go to screen and lock, I think. And this should give us the option, you know, for like brightness and everything. We can also get to that up here. You can just get to a quick controls for like Wi-Fi and airplane mode and rotation lock and all that. But we can also go into here, change the wallpaper. And yeah, we only have 11 wallpapers in here, but this one looks kind of cool. This is the default one, but let's just select that one maybe. And hit OK. And now when we go back, we can see that our wallpaper has been changed. Of course, with all these apps running, we can't really see it, but I think we can like drag it out of the way, at least temporarily there. Or just, you know, close all the applications, and there it is. So yeah, I mean, that is a little brief demo of webOS. And now I want to talk about the Android situation. Although, before we get to that, I just realized that I completely forgot to try out the keyboard here. So, I believe I have this on. There's no, like, light or anything. Oh, wait, there it is. Okay, that thing just blinked green. Okay, I didn't see a light on the front. Don't you love when you say something and get immediately just disproven? Oh, there it is. HP Touchpad Wireless Keyboard. Alright. And it's connected. So, yeah, if we go back into search here, and I type on the keyboard, it totally works. So yeah, check that out. That's pretty awesome. So yeah, the idea here with the keyboard and with the touchstone dock is you would, you know, have the touchstone dock to prop up the tablet, you know, on a desk or something, and then set the keyboard in front of it. That's kind of the ideal way I think that you were supposed to use it. Now, I want to talk about the Android situation, because the efforts to get Android running on the touchpad began almost immediately after the fire sale. And as I mentioned before, people were successful in getting it to work and even have it dual booted with webOS. We'll talk about that later. But what might surprise you is that the group that was able to get Android running on these things before anybody else was HP themselves, because around the time of the fire sale, reports began to surface about a handful of HP touchpads that were shipped from the factory pre-installed with Android. And although HP said that this was completely unauthorized and that the tablets only supported webOS, people in the community noticed that there were significant changes in the kernel binary that presumably were made by HP, which is noteworthy because under the terms of the GPL, the license that the Linux kernel is released under, If you make any modifications to it and release it publicly, you are required to make the source code available under the same license. So people started emailing HP saying that they had violated the GPL and asked for the source code, and initially, maybe not surprisingly, they were uncooperative, saying that they never authorized the distribution of Android on touchpads and that they believed all units were shipped with webOS, so this must have been some unauthorized third party. Of course, people didn't buy that at all because these tablets were purchased directly from retailers and they had the receipts to prove it. So even if the Android install was unauthorized and not supported by HP, it was still released to the public, albeit in a rather unusual way, so the community felt they had a case to make. And after an attorney got involved, well, HP finally gave in and released the source code, essentially admitting that they did actually install Android on these things themselves. Now, if you're wondering why they would do that, well, here's a quote from PhoneNews.com. The Android kernel was based on Qualcomm's reference Android source code and was used by HP internally to accelerate the release of the touchpad. It was never intended for public use, but rather to ensure that the touchpad's hardware would be ready for release to consumers alongside webOS 3. As webOS 3 was lagging behind the hardware in development, Android was also used in the manufacturing lines to test touchpads before ultimately being flashed with webOS. So it seems to me that somebody did a big oops and didn't flash a handful of these touchpads with webOS and just sent them out with Android. So yeah, it's a rather hilarious turn of events, to be honest. Maybe not so much for HP, but hey, it did result in them releasing the source code. Although I should say there were efforts to get Android running on these things before that happened. And like I mentioned, you could dual boot these tablets with both webOS and Android. And well, this tablet just so happens to be one of those. So if we hit shut down here and we restart this thing, now I did not do this, by the way, it just came to me like this. So the previous owner at some point, or one of the previous owners anyway, put Android on this thing, and I have not explored that yet, so we're going to see what version of Android that it is. But when we start up here, it will bring us to a little menu. And then we use the volume down, or well, it's actually just on boot CyanogenMod. So we'll just hit the home button there. And here we are. So let's unlock it here. And looks like we've got some widgets going on, got some applications. I mean, all the default stuff. But I wonder, is there anything else installed? It doesn't look like it. This kind of looks like a fresh install of whatever version of CyanogenMod this is. But let's see what the underlying Android version is if we go into settings here. Because I am rather curious. I don't know what the latest version of Android you can get on these things, but if we go to About here, 5.1.1. So that's a lollipop. I mean, hey, it's just neat to see like another operating system running on here, and I would definitely like to at some point maybe revisit this and see, you know, if we can get a newer version of Android. There's also, I think, ways to get just like a, you know, desktop Linux distro on here maybe. But yeah, that is pretty much going to wrap it up for this episode. I want to give a huge thank you again to David for literally making this one possible. Even if we didn't get to take a look at the exact touchpad that he sent, he still gave me the idea and, you know, sent that stuff out to me. We got to unbox it and, you know, check it out, you know, out of the package for the first time, which was pretty cool. And like I said, I mean, now that I know that battery works, well, I can replace it and maybe we can use that touchpad for our future shenanigans that we get into on this channel. But yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up, get subscribed, maybe consider becoming a patron or a channel member to get early access to these videos before anybody else. But either way, I just want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.